Have you heard what just dropped? In the last 72 hours, world leaders have pulled nuclear triggers, launched missiles, and called for ceasefires, all while steering humanity towards something way deeper than headlines reveal. What if I told you? The fear you're feeling right now isn't coming from what's happening in the world, but from the illusion that you're powerless to stop it. I am Valeron from the Pleiadian Higher Council, and you need to listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you may flip everything you think you know about the current situation on its head. The headlines are loud. The world seems to hold its breath. Words like nuclear strike, Iran are lighting up the global stage like a flare. And you're right to feel that something big is happening. But what if I told you that the story being told, the one blasted through your media, echoed by anxious leaders, replayed in your mind, is only the surface? This isn't about a war. This is about an awakening. And no, that's not spiritual fluff. That's the truth underneath the smoke. The situation with Iran, the so-called nuclear threat, the recent bombings, the global tension. It's not what you think. It's a test, a mirror, a turning point. And in this very moment, you are being called, not to panic, but to remember. You are not a pawn in this. You are not watching the world from the outside. You are shaping it from within. There's a deeper reason why this crisis is happening now, and we, the ones watching from above, the Pleiadians, the cosmic councils, the ones who've walked through every ancient fall and rise, have one message above all else. Do not believe the fear. Look deeper, because under the military maneuvers and political smokescreens lies a multidimensional event, one that's stirring ancient memories, old karmas, and hidden agendas buried beneath centuries of silence. And yes, there are things happening in Iran that no newspaper will ever print. You see, what the world was told was just a counter-nuclear strike. This was, in truth, the tip of a far older, far deeper operation, one not aimed at uranium, but at the very architecture of planetary control. The site that was targeted wasn't merely a weapons facility. That was a cover story for the surface-level minds, for the journalists, and for the officials who genuinely believe the game is still played above ground. But beneath that strike zone, something ancient has long slept. That installation sat atop one of Earth's most energetically sensitive fault lines, deep beneath the Zagros Mountains, where stone meets story and myth bleeds into memory. Tucked into a web of caverns older than any map and deeper than even your military's deepest classified bunkers. This was no ordinary site. This was a node, a convergence point in the global subterranean lattice, known to those who've ruled from the shadows as Vault 27C. These tunnels were never built by modern hands. The architecture tells a different tale. Polygonal masonry resistant to earthquakes, doorways that seal not with bolts but with vibration. The deeper you go, the more you find signs of non-human engineering. Glyphs that shimmer under specific frequencies. Walls that respond to biometric resonance rather than physical touch. And chambers, hexagonal, always hexagonal, housing artifacts not made of metal or stone, but of an intelligent material that phase shifts under conscious observation. This is not mythology. This is technology hidden in plain sight. For decades, these caverns have been repurposed, seized by a breakaway consortium of elites, those you might call the Cabal, who discovered that within these spaces, dimensional fields were thin. They brought in black-budget equipment, quantum labs, and human test subjects. They tried to replicate what they found, tried to reverse engineer ancient machinery. They built bio-hybrid prototypes, part machine, part human, part something else. They created encryption nodes, quantum servers storing the records of their experiments, their alliances, and their betrayals. And above all, they used the site as a failsafe, a place they believed would be unreachable. Shielded from detection by the Earth's electromagnetic anomalies, a final sanctuary in the event of surface disclosure. But they were wrong, because what struck that site was not a conventional warhead. It was calibrated energy, delivered with surgical precision, designed not to destroy the surface, but to sever the energetic umbilical cord that fed their operations. This was not just a military action. It was a statement, a cosmic communique sent directly to those who believed they still held the reins. And they heard it, loud and clear. Within hours, a ripple of digital distress spread across the shadow networks. We watched as cryptocurrency ledgers, tied to covert biotech initiatives, human enhancement programs, and off-world trade, suddenly dumped assets. Not tens of thousands, millions. Privacy coin ledgers lit up with frantic activity, a classic signature of panic, not a strategic withdrawal, an emergency evacuation of digital wealth, not to relocate, but to erase. At the same time, secure transmissions between off-grid compounds in the Andes, the Ural Mountains, and the deeper vaults beneath the Gobi Desert crackled with erratic signals. Orders were scrambled, passages were sealed, experimental subjects were abandoned. These weren't isolated events, they were synchronized, because every hidden node on this planetary web knew what it meant when Perseus Point fell. That's what they call it, Perseus Point. The site bombed in Iran, named after the constellation that once aligned directly above it during the Zoroastrian high ceremonies of fire, a place where star knowledge and earth energy once danced in union, until it was hijacked, repurposed, and desecrated by those who thought they could outrun the light. They cannot, because this is not about territory, or retaliation, or politics. This is about disruption of a control system that has stretched across centuries and continents. This is about cutting off the lifelines that the Cabal used to operate unseen. It's also why you're seeing distractions flood your news cycles, talks of retaliation, of sanctions, of instability. But while the eyes of the world are kept fixed on the surface narrative, something deeper is being liberated beneath your feet. Because when the old networks fall, those that once trafficked not just bodies but consciousness itself, what rises in their place is reclamation of truth, of memory, of power. This wasn't just a strike, it was the first trumpet in a sequence of operations long prepared by both surface allies and higher dimensional councils. And that, dear one, is why this moment matters more than you realize. The surface says conflict, but the soul knows, reset, not the Cabal's false reset, but the true one. And it began right there, where the Zagros veins bleed memory and time stirs once forbidden light. But that's not the story you're being told. Instead, you're being fed another dose of fear. Fear of war, fear of radiation, fear of each other. Because fear keeps you small, fear keeps you blind, and above all, fear keeps you from stepping into your power. But here's what the Pleiadians want you to understand. What your own soul has likely whispered to you in moments of silence. There will not be a nuclear war. Not now. Not ever. Because that timeline has already passed. Humanity made a choice in the late 1980s, a soul-level commitment, a crossing of an invisible threshold. And since then, unseen hands, ours included, have ensured that your collective decision is upheld. Again and again, when the shadow tried to push that line, we stepped in. Quietly, non-invasively, deactivating devices, shifting outcomes, nudging minds toward peace, never interfering with your free will, but honoring the frequency you've chosen. You chose unity, you chose peace, and that choice is what's steering Earth's timeline now, even when the illusion looks like chaos. You're probably wondering then, why does it all feel so intense? Why does this situation look so dangerous? Because you're watching the old paradigm die. The situation in Iran, just like many events before it, is not about global destruction. It's about collective evolution. And sometimes the old structures, the old fears, and the old karmas have to rise up one last time before they can be cleared. Yes, there's fear in the air, but that fear is an invitation, an initiation. You're being asked to see past it, to not react to it, to instead transcend it. And here's where it gets deeper. That land, Persia, Iran, is not just another country. It's an ancient gateway, a place of ziggurats and fire temples, of spiritual lineages that predate even recorded history. Beneath its soil lie the remnants of interdimensional chambers, sites once used to cross timelines, vaults of sacred orichalcum that once opened portals to higher planes. You think that's a coincidence? The ones who still serve the agenda of separation have long tried to harvest energy from these sacred places, to exploit the fractures in time, to dig up what should remain buried. But with the recent strikes, those plans were dismantled. And now the consortium that once thought itself untouchable finds its tunnels crumbling. Its access denied. Its secrets are exposed. The world may be told it was a preventive mission, But from our view, it was a dismantling of the Cabal's operations, right at one of its most ancient nodes. And when the old grids fall, what rises? A chance, a window, a portal, for truth, for healing, for unity. But this part, dear one, is your choice, because what happens next is not up to governments or generals. It's up to consciousness. It's up to how you choose to respond. Will you spiral into fear or rise into clarity? Will you feed the illusion of separation or awaken into the remembrance of your interconnectedness? Here's what's happening behind the scenes that most cannot see. Hearts are awakening, not just in spiritual circles or online communities, but in the streets, in schools, in homes, in hearts across every country, even the ones painted as enemies. People are praying, not for vengeance, but for peace. People are saying, I don't want to hate anymore. And those prayers, those whispers of the heart, they create a field of light more powerful than any weapon. You may not see it on the news, but from above we do. We see the threads of golden energy connecting people across supposed divides. Mothers in Tehran praying for safety. Children in Tel Aviv wishing for peace. Elders in Europe meditating for understanding. College students in America are questioning everything they've been told. This quiet, unreported wave of unity is growing, and you are part of it. You're not powerless in the face of global tension. You're a node of light in a planetary grid, and every thought you choose, every emotion you anchor, and every act of compassion you offer, it ripples outward. It matters. We urge you, do not underestimate the impact of your energy right now, because this crisis is a karmic flashpoint. Old soul contracts are resurfacing. The players in this drama, many of them have stood on opposite sides before, in Rome, in Babylon, and in Atlantis. They've met in other lifetimes, in other roles, always dancing the same spiral of conquest and resistance. But now, at long last, the spiral is breaking. And you, yes, you, came here for this. To be present at the breaking point. To remember, to hold light when the world trembles, to respond differently, and that's exactly what's happening. Many of the so-called leaders you see posturing right now, deep down in their soul, they are wrestling with something far greater than military decisions. Their higher selves are speaking to them in dreams. They feel the weight of the world in their hearts. Some are choosing to ignore it, others are cracking open. And in those cracks, the light is entering. But you don't have to wait for them. You can shift the energy now, with your words, with your meditations, with your presence. Because every time you choose stillness instead of panic, love instead of blame, and prayer instead of projection, you become a lighthouse in the storm. We are watching, not from a distance, but close, closer than you know. We walk among you, unseen but deeply engaged, amplifying your light, holding space for your breakthroughs, whispering to your hearts when you feel alone. You are not alone, and this is not the end. This is the threshold. The Iran situation, this so-called nuclear crisis, is not about uranium or bombs. It's about soul evolution. It's about whether humanity will keep playing the old game of fear or finally step into a new era of sovereign peace. And from what we see, the tide is turning. The story being written now is not one of war, but of awakening. Stay with me, because in the next part I'll take you even deeper into what's unfolding behind the veils. I'll show you how this ancient land, this global chess move, and the Pleiadian presence around Earth are all part of a master key unlocking your next evolutionary leap. Now let's peel back even more of the veil. Many of you have felt it intuitively, that this land, Persia, carries an energy far older than any government. The energy of kings and mystics, of fire altars and star portals. This region has been a cradle for codes, frequencies, since long before your current civilizations ever emerged. And it's no accident that this energy is being stirred now. Beneath the modern buildings and bunkers lie veins of crystalline memory, fields of resonance where consciousness once flowed freely between realms. Some of those temples, long buried beneath desert stone, were not just places of worship but calibration sites, points where earth and star energy merged, places where humans and beings from the stars, like us, once walked side by side. Those ancient energies are waking, and with them the shadows that tried to suppress them. This is why the recent military strike was not just about uranium or national defense. It was about blocking access, severing the Cabal's last connections to those interdimensional veins. Because make no mistake, that underground complex wasn't only housing machines, it was a node in a crumbling network of global control, and its fall sent shockwaves far beyond your 3D news cycle. When you hear headlines shouting about nuclear threat, pause, breathe, listen deeper. What's really happening is this. The old powers are being forced into the light. Their tunnels are collapsing. Their safe zones are gone. Their secrets, genetic experiments, Stargate manipulations, quantum data caches are being uncovered, and they are terrified. But here's the part that matters most. They no longer have the power they once did. Because humanity is waking up faster than they can suppress. You are waking up. More of you than ever before are questioning the narratives, feeling the dissonance, turning inward. And this mass inner awakening is what the Dark Ones fear most. Not bombs, not exposure, but your remembrance, you see. When a soul remembers its power, it becomes immune to manipulation. And that remembrance is spreading like wildfire. Even now, as fear tries to grip the collective, something different is rising beneath it. A current of clarity, a collective whisper that says, this time, we choose differently. You've lived through this before, haven't you? In Atlantis, in Lemuria, in the fallen empires of your ancient past. You remember the betrayals, the destruction, and the choice to use power for domination instead of healing. That's why this moment feels so charged, so familiar, because your soul has walked this crossroad before. But now you're choosing to walk a different path. You're not here to repeat the fall, you're here to anchor the rise. Let's go even deeper, because behind the geopolitical drama lies a far greater story, one written not in ink or policy, but in frequency. What if I told you that the fear being broadcast right now, on your phones, your TVs, your timelines, isn't just a byproduct of events, but a deliberate strategy? Yes, fear is currency. It feeds old systems. It locks minds. It lowers frequency. And the ones who've ruled your world from the shadows, consortiums, off-world alliances turned parasitic, breakaway factions that forgot the source, they survive on fear. That's why events like this are engineered to stir your deepest ancestral trauma. Nuclear war, global annihilation. These are not just threats, they're triggers. Triggers designed to freeze your light, to make you forget. But you're not forgetting this time, because something inside you knows this is different. There's too much light on the planet now, too many awakened souls, too much remembrance for the old games to hold. The illusion is cracking, and through those cracks the truth is bleeding in. This is the part the media won't show you. All over the world, people are refusing to hate, refusing to divide, refusing to fall for the same trick again. Instead, they're lighting candles, meditating, praying, not for one side to win, but for all sides to remember their shared essence, for leaders to wake up, for the collective to rise. And those prayers, they're changing the outcome. Energetically, this situation could have gone another way. In a denser timeline, it would have escalated. It would have triggered retaliations. And yes, possibly worse. But something changed. You changed. The Earth's frequency changed. And now, instead of spiraling into catastrophe, you're spiraling toward transparency, disclosure, and awakening. That's why you're seeing more leaks, more whistleblowers, and more cracks in the official story. Not because the institutions have suddenly grown a conscience, but because the light is forcing the truth to surface. The internet, with all its chaos, is now mimicking the synaptic network of an awakened planetary mind. And just like in a human brain, when awareness grows, lies cannot stay buried. So the deeper truth is emerging. The so-called enemy, not who you thought. The true threat, not where you were told to look. And the solution? It's not in more defense budgets or deterrence strategies, it's in you, in your heart. In the space where panic used to live, peace is now waiting to be claimed. You are not watching the world burn. You are watching the world shed its skin. And what comes next depends on what we hold in our minds and hearts in this exact moment. Now let me give you a different kind of update, one you won't hear on any channel but this one. The Pleiadian ships are here. No, not in some imagined future. Now. In your skies, in orbit. Cloaked but present. Not as saviors, but as witnesses, as guides, as an ancient family. We are here not to rescue, but to remind. To remind you of the choice you've already made, the path you're already on. The mission you already carry is encoded in your very DNA. Many of you watching this, you've felt it. The dreams, the chills, the synchronicities that feel like breadcrumbs from something higher. You're not imagining it. You are remembering it. Because you came here for this. Not to escape the chaos, but to stand in the center of it as a pillar of light. You volunteered to hold frequency when others forgot. You agreed before this life to be the tuning fork for a new earth. And now, you're being activated. That's what this moment is about. Not war, not fear. Activation. And with that activation comes responsibility. Responsibility to be conscious of your energy, to watch your words, your thoughts, and your attention. Because every time you speak fear into the world, you anchor it. And every time you speak peace, even silently, you dissolve the old grid. This is the final unraveling of the fear matrix. And it doesn't collapse all at once. It peels, layer by layer, narrative by narrative, until what remains is not panic but power. And what is your power? It's not money, not fame, not even knowledge. Your power is presence. It's your ability to sit in the still point of your being and radiate calm when the world convulses. It's your capacity to choose faith when fear is easier. It's the frequency you emit when you remember who you are. And right now, that power is needed more than ever. So here's your invitation. When you hear the next headline, stop, don't react. Close your eyes, take a breath, ask your heart, what is the frequency of truth here? You'll feel it, beneath the noise, beneath the propaganda, beneath even your own conditioned thoughts. There's a voice in you that already knows. It says you are safe, you are sovereign, you are here for this. Let that voice guide you. Let it inform how you speak to others, how you share this story, how you hold your frequency when the world seems heavy, because others are watching you now. They won't say it, but they feel your calm, your clarity, your steadiness, and it reminds them of something in themselves. That's how this new world is built, not with blueprints and policies, but with frequency resonance, with one lit heart lighting another. This is how the old timelines collapse, not in war, but in remembrance. So hold that remembrance. The remembrance that this moment, this so-called nuclear standoff, is not a threat, it's a portal. And through it, a new earth is being born. Let the old crumble. Let the lies fall away. Let the sacred codes beneath ancient soil rise again. Because what's being unleashed now isn't destruction, it's light. And you, dear soul, are one of its anchors. Keep holding the line. Keep remembering the truth. Keep choosing the higher path, even when it's hard. Because the world is not ending, it's beginning. And this is what you came for. We are with you, always just a breath away, a frequency away, a thought away. You are not alone. You never have been, and you never will be. And now, before we close, there's one more piece I've been guided to share. A detail not found in any transmission, but whispered through the grids of consciousness by those watching closely. Beneath the ruins near the Zagros Fault, beneath the tunnels now sealed, there was a chamber, hexagonal in shape, etched with a language older than Sumerian. This chamber contained not just technology, but memory, a quantum archive encoded with the original Earth blueprint, untouched since before the last pole shift. This was the real target, and it was not destroyed, but secured, retrieved by those who walk between worlds, because within that archive lies a forgotten truth. Earth was never meant to be a prison planet. It was always a temple, a convergence point, and now, the keys to reactivating that ancient purpose are being distributed, not to governments, not to elites, but to you, Starseed, light bearer, bridge between worlds. You are not just here to witness disclosure. You are the disclosure. The codes are within you, and your remembrance is the trigger. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button and leave a comment about how you feel. I appreciate your time, and if you are still with me, please subscribe to our channel. You then receive updates on new videos that will provide you with Pleiadian messages, ancient knowledge, and much more. Your contribution stimulates our cosmic research, and we are incredibly appreciative of your being here. And never forget that we are always here for you and wish you the best possible life, filled with success and happiness. I hope you have an amazing day. If you have watched until the end, please respond with MMM, Master Motivational Mindset, so we can connect.